take a teaching Buddha, I take a teaching God, I take a teaching Son. So my idea for tonight was to have a short Dharma talk rather than the usual full 25 minutes. And then follow that up with reading this book. And I'm hoping to make this a series of talks, 10 to 15 minute talks, followed by reading each of the 10 chapters. This is one translation is Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life. It's also translated as Bodhisattva's Way of Life. It's a work by an 8th century Indian Buddhist monk, scholar and poet, Shantideva. So we'll first talk about him a little bit, about this book, and then maybe some of my comments on the first chapter, and then I'll ask one of you people to take over and read that chapter for us. So as I mentioned, Shantideva lived in the 8th century. At the time that this story happens, he's already studied both Mahayana and Vajrayana Buddhism with numerous masters. And now he's at this famous monastic university in ancient India called Nalanda University. And it's a big university, there's a lot of monks around. He is known as being the lazy monk. They gave him a nickname, I believe it's Usuku, which literally means eat, sleep, and go to the toilet. So, monks weren't very happy with him. He's quite lazy. They have gone to the head monk, to the abbot, and said, "Look, he's making us look bad. Other monks are feeling lazy as well. What can we do?" And the first time the abbot says, just leave him. The abbot has an idea that he's perhaps a real life monk, and he's practicing in his own way. And maybe he's not being lazy, he's being just ordinary and being ordinary and humble. And so they schemed this plan of somehow getting rid of him anyways. They invite him to do a talk. He's never given a talk, he's never talked, so they think, this guy is not going to know much, he's going to feel embarrassed and leave the monastery for good. And they try to make the event as grand as possible. So they find the highest throne, throw huge events, call monks from all over the country to come and watch and give this talk. Thousands of people show up. By the way, I was just thinking, this is, for me, this is not so bad. I was hoping it would be just Andrew and Shikan, but I'm glad that a lot of people showed up at this time. But compared to thousands of people, it's all good. And so he, and just like, this is not I should have said this earlier, but it's not a Zen, typical Zen textbook. It's more of a Tibetan Vajrayana textbook. I think it's one of Dalai Lama's favorite books. And so the story is a little mythical, as a lot of the Tibetan stories are. It is said that once people showed up, Shantideva approaches this grand throne that he couldn't climb, touches it, and the throne comes down. He sits on it, and he goes up, and he starts talking. And essentially, he doesn't stop until he's done with this book. So 10 chapters. The book is originally called the Bodhicharya Vatara. I say that word, or literally a guide to the Bodhisattva way of life. In the story, he does the first 8 chapters sitting. Once he's done with the 8th chapter, he rises up, levitates in the sky. By the time he's done with chapter 9, his body disappears, and people only hear his voice. And then he's gone. He's gone for good. And the monks who tried to get rid of him kind of regret what happened. And so the message of that story matches what is being written here, which is ordinary human being can transfer into an awakened mind and follow the path of awakening. He comes across as very ordinary in the beginning, but then towards the end he disappears. And it's a very practical guide. So it's a practical guide of how to change bodhicitta, which is the mind of awakening, into practical day-to-day actions. I just want to take a few sections of the first chapter and say a few things, and then we can do the chapters. So uh, um, one of the paragraphs reads like this: Here I shall say nothing that has not been said before, and in the art of paucity I have no skill. I therefore have no thoughts that this might be benefit to others. I wrote it only to habituate my mind. My faith will thus be strengthened for a little while. Reading this, I was thinking of how in Zen we don't focus on reading the text. You know, if you read some of the Bodhidharma stories, you know that the focus of Zen is on direct experience rather than reading text. But in my own practice and in my own experience, reading has a place. It doesn't replace direct experience of reality. But I do find that it motivates me to practice, to sit regularly. And also, once I see something, reading about it in uh, different texts and different ways of it being described, it starts habituating my mind, and it stops being an idea and it becomes permanent. Um, the other paragraph I wanted to read says, uh, should bodhicitta come to birth in those who suffer chained in prison of samsara, in that instant they are called children of the blissful one. I think the whole focus of this text is very similar to the Bodhisattva vow that we do at the end of our sitting every day, and that's um, to end our own suffering. The Bodhisattva uh, stops and waits for everybody else to get on the bus. Uh, tries to end everyone's suffering, because as long as one person suffers um, through the lens of uh, all of experience, one, um, everybody suffers. And so this book treats suffering not as a personal suffering, but as, first of all, as one suffering being everyone's suffering, and also as healing not being separate from our own healing. The next section I wanted to read says, so hard to find the ease in doubt, whereby the aims of being may be gained. If now I fail to turn it to my profit, how could such a chance be mine again? What this brings up for me is how rare it is to come to this practice, come to um, have the chance to be able to hear this message and be able to practice it, and how rare and precious it is. I could have been too distracted, too wounded, too comfortable to pick up this practice. Not to mention, I could have not been born. There could have been no form of life. Um, and so, what this brings up for me is not wasting this rare chance to practice Buddhism. And later on in the chapter, he compares virtues to a plantain tree, virtues other than the Bodhisattva virtues that are for personal gain, or that come from a self, an I, versus the bodhicitta virtues that we describe as a marvelous tree that keeps bearing fruit, compared to a plantain tree that bears fruit and is dead. And finally, he's got a few pages on two aspects of an awakened mind. And this book is kind of divided into those two aspects as well. So intention and engagement. So I think the first three chapters are perhaps focused on intention, on raising the bodhicitta mind, and the second half focuses on engagement and how the two cannot exist separately. There's a more subtle point that he makes around engagement, engagement that arises from action versus engagement that it is without the apparent existence of the awakened mind. So I think this is a more subtle difference, but one is, I think those of us who have done retreats know what it's like to do a work session, being in focus and being in a more meditative mind, where the awakened mind is present as we are taking action. And then the everyday life that might be informed by what we see during the meditation. Ultimately, the book is about ending suffering for all beings. The Bodhisattva vow. And I just wanted to start with chapter 1 today. And I think I'll have a chance to do chapter 2 in August. And hopefully the other 8 chapters, in the coming months and years. Any volunteers to
An explanation of the benefits of bodhicitta. Homage to the enlightened Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and prostrate to the enlightened Buddhas endowed with the truth body, and to the Bodhisattvas and all other objects of prostration. I will explain briefly, in accordance with the scriptures, how to engage in the condensed practices of the Bodhisattvas. There's nothing written here that has not been explained before, and I have no special skills in composition. My reason for writing this is to benefit others and to keep my mind pointed. Thus, the strength of my faith and my virtuous realizations might for a while be increased by this, and perhaps others who are as fortunate as I might also find this meaningful to behold. This precious human life, so hard to find, offers the ultimate goal for living beings. If we do not strive to accomplish this goal now, how will such a precious opportunity arise again? Just as on a dark and cloudy night a flash of lightning for a moment illuminates all, so for the worldly, through the power of Buddha's blessings, a virtuous intention occasionally and briefly occurs. Thus, while our virtues are mostly weak, our non-virtues are extremely strong and fearsome. Other than bodhicitta, a compassionate mind wishing for enlightenment, what virtue can overcome the heaviest evils? The able ones, the Buddhas who have considered this for many eons, have all seen bodhicitta to be the most beneficial because, through it, countless masses of living beings can easily attain the supreme bliss of enlightenment. Those who wish to destroy their own suffering, those who wish to dispel the suffering of others, and those who wish to experience much happiness should never forsake the practice of bodhicitta. The moment bodhicitta is generated, even in pitiful beings bound within the prison of samsara, they become bodhisattvas, a son or daughter of Buddha, and are worthy of veneration by humans and worldly gods. Just like the supreme elixir that transmutes into gold, bodhicitta can transform this impure body we have taken into the priceless jewel of a Buddha's form. Therefore, firmly maintain bodhicitta. Since the limitless wisdom of Buddha, the sole navigator of living beings, upon thorough investigation has seen its preciousness, those who wish to be free from samsara's suffering should firmly maintain this precious mind of bodhicitta. Whereas all other virtues are like plantain trees in that they are exhausted once they bear fruit, the enduring celestial tree of bodhicitta is not exhausted but increases by bearing fruit. Just as when those who are greatly afraid rely upon a courageous one, whoever relies upon bodhicitta will immediately be freed from danger, even if they have committed unbearable evils. So why do the conscientious not rely upon it? Just like the fire at the end of the eon, in an instant, completely consumes all great evil, its countless benefits were explained by the wise protector Maitreya to Bodhisattva Sudama. In brief, you should know that bodhicitta has two types: the mind that observes enlightenment and inspires, and the mind that observes enlightenment and engages. Just as the distinction between wishing to go and actually going is understood, so respectively, the wise should understand the difference between these two bodhicittas. From the mind that aspires to enlightenment, great effects arise while in samsara, but an uninterrupted flow of good fortune does not ensue as it does from the engaging mind. For whoever takes up the engaging mind of bodhicitta with the intention never to turn back from completely liberating the infinite beings throughout all realms, from that time forth for him there will arise, even if he is asleep or apparently unconcerned, vast and powerful merit equal to space that flows without interruption. For the sake of those with lesser inclinations, these benefits were explained with logical reasons by the Tathagata himself in the sutra requested by Subhahu. Even if the thought to relieve the headaches of others is a beneficial intention that results in infinite merit, what can be said of the wish to dispel the immeasurable misery of each and every living being and lead them all to countless good qualities? Does our mother or father have such a beneficial intention as this? Do the gods or sages? Does even Brahma himself? If before generating bodhicitta these living beings do not even dream of such a mind for their own sakes, how will they develop it for the sake of others? This mind to benefit living beings, which does not arise in others even for their own sakes, is an extraordinary jewel of mind whose birth is an unprecedented wonder. How can we possibly measure the benefits of this jewel of mind, the source of joy for all living beings and the cure for all their sufferings? If the mere intention to benefit others is more meritorious than making offerings to the Buddhas, what can be said of actually striving for the happiness of every single living being? Although living beings wish to be free from suffering, they run straight towards the causes of suffering. And although they wish for happiness, out of ignorance they destroy it like a foe. For those who are deprived of happiness and afflicted with many sorrows, bodhicitta bestows upon them boundless joy, eradicates all their suffering, and even dispels their confusion. Where is their virtue equal to this? Where is there even such a friend? Where is there merit such as this? If even someone who repays a kindness is worthy of some praise, what can be said of the bodhisattva who helps others regardless of whether or not they help him? If someone regularly, or even just once, gives food in a disdainful manner, which satisfies a few beings for only half a day, people honor him or her as virtuous. So what can be said of one who eternally gives to countless living beings the everlasting, unsurpassed bliss of the Sagatas, fulfilling all their wishes? Buddha said that whoever generates an evil mind toward a bodhisattva, a supreme benefactor, will remain in hell for as many eons as the moments for which that evil mind was generated. But for whoever generates a pure mind of faith, the effects of good fortune will increase even more than that. Even when bodhisattvas are faced with great adversity, negativity does not arise. Rather, their virtues naturally increase. I prostrate to those who have generated the holy, precious mind of bodhicitta, and I go for refuge to those sources of happiness, who bestow bliss even upon those who harm me.